Divorce lawyers of Reddit, what's the best kept secret couples have kept from one another? Large amounts of debt, affairs, substance abuse, and PRN are all fairly common in terms of secrets that pop up in my cases. So much so, it's almost expected. However, this one was my favorite. Client is an elderly gentleman. Some type of retired professional. His son is a pastor. Everything about his situation seemed very normal in terms of income, property, etc. However, it turns out he had a pretty serious PRN hobby and he was concerned his wife might find out and use it against him in the divorce. However, as I mentioned above, I assured him that was pretty run-of-the-mill these days and unlikely to affect anything. He then asks if I feel the same knowing the PRN is not mainstream. I asked what he means and he looks very nervous. I wanted to make sure he wasn't referencing CP. So I pushed him on it. The guy was into goats. So it was kids after all. In Australia, a divorcing husband hid 10+ million by making an overpayment to the tax office. Auditors thought it was a tax payment but 6 months later it was refunded with base interest rate. Since then auditors have caught on to this. Edit. I do not practice in family law. But early in my career my then boss would take a divorce case from time to time to help out a friend or acquaintance. I would assist on occasion. For any type of litigation. The parties exchange written questions as part of discovery. I was reviewing the wife's answers to her discovery requests. And assisting the husband with answering his questions. We get to the part where it asks about engaging in extramarital sexual relations. Husband tells me that he recently saw a prostitute. But don't worry. It was in Canada. So it's okay. I just nodded and took notes. In going over the wife's answers, she listed bestiality as a factor that led to the breakdown of the relationship. I asked husband about this, because I have to know what other issues may come to light. And tells me he got really drunk one night after they separated. Called her up and told her he f***ed a goat. But he swore he didn't actually do that. I was really professional and kept a straight face during the meeting. But my boss and I laughed about that for ages. East Coast husband had a listed income of $1. 5 millimeters. Cheated on wife 10 times. Almost at the end of the divorce process it was learned that husband had another family in Seattle. A different name and another $14 salary in tech. His vested stock options under the second identity were worth $214 How was he discovered living the double life? Seattle wife posted a picture on Facebook and tagged him with his West Coast name. East Coast wife similarly posted a photograph of him. The facial recognition assigned him a possible name, his West Coast name. The two wives got in touch. But wait. There's more. He has a wife and family in the Czech Republic and moved there to avoid family court and is currently being pursued for extradition. In my dad's last divorce, it came out that his wife had been having an affair throughout her last 3 marriages. It was with her first boyfriend, who was also her stepbrother. Neither of them wanted to settle. And it ended up coming out in a hearing or trial in front of the court. But my dad was no angel. And had threatened her with a gun, and beat my mom when they were married. So they both played themselves. Not a lawyer, but I found out about a best kept secret deal. A married couple got their gas utility account turned on at their house back in 1972, but the gas company never finished the paperwork properly and they were never billed. They got free gas service forever because their account was properly on, but the billing was never set up. Later they divorce and the husband gets the house with the free gas service. The gas company finally caught the problem sometime around 2014. The company could legally backbill the customer for only a limited time amounting to a few years of use, but the guy told the company to send the bill to his ex-wife. There was a clause in the divorce settlement that said that if the gas company ever was notified or discovered the free gas deal, the ex-wife would have to pay any past bill payments. The arrangement was made so that the wife could never alert the company to their error without having to pay herself. What was amazing was that 2 lawyers and a judge signed off on this while fully knowing that the guy was getting away with it. For a while she concealed that she'd accidentally burned down the kitchen. He was no longer living there. After he found out. Which only happened because he happened to drive past the house. She accused me of telling him and otherwise colluding with him to ruin her. She also threatened to strangle my secretary. She's in my top 5 crazy client list. Not a lawyer. But part of my previous job was reviewing the details of divorce decrees for people trying to get money to start businesses. They are usually pretty generic. Especially in no-fault states. About 10 years ago I get this one where it was an at-fault state at the time of the divorce. And it laid out the whole backstory. The husband was a physician and the wife was a hairstylist. The husband lied about having a long-term disease to the wife and her family. He used this lie to leave his job and stayed home for years while the wife took on multiple jobs and tried to support him on her income alone. They found out he was lying and she filed for divorce. He was ordered by the judge to immediately seek employment as a doctor and pay the wife alimony based on his theoretical salary. Based on his theoretical salary. This. Not a lawyer. But my husband's uncle, they're close to the same age, was going through a divorce. His wife had just packed up her stuff and their kids and moved out one day while he was at work. Come to find out. A few weeks before she left. She'd won a $5,000 a week for life lottery ticket. And thought she could divorce him without splitting her winnings. That didn't work out very well for her. Not exactly the answer you were looking for. But my parents' divorce took an ungodly amount of time. And therefore, money. My mom found out about 10 years after the fact that her lawyer and my dad's lawyer were colluding to drag the case out as long as possible. Mom didn't want to have to deal with dad, so she never went after the lawyer. Too bad in hindsight. Currently in law school. My contracts professor told us about 2 lawyers who regularly do this to their clients. He and a lot of the students thought it was the funniest thing in the world. I was horrified. Edit. And to be clear, regularly do this when the other lawyer represents the opposing client. They apparently love playing off each other. Each one just says, "Oh, your ex hired the other lawyer? Oh man. They are ruthless. We better really bring out the big guns for this one." And then they know they can really drag it out for as much as they can get. Key here is communicate with your ex. If you can. Look for lawyers that promise speed and efficiency over getting you as much as you can get. Not a divorce lawyer, but my friend told me about a secret that came up during her divorce. For years they had trouble with the trash pickup just skipping their house, and a lot of times she would call and complain. Then she filed for divorce and they were going through some type of mediation, and it came out that he was just too lazy to take the trash cans to the curb, and she would believe him when he said he had done it. Not a lawyer. But in my divorce, my now ex stated that she had child PRN that I downloaded 15 years previous and she kept in a folder at work. 2 points. 1. This was downloaded from CarZAA. With the title Christina Aguilera's Lady Marmalade. Which is what I was actually trying to download. 2. Since they were only half downloaded, I stopped the download when I noticed it wasn't music. She finished the download and printed them out. She admitted she printed them and had them at work. My lawyer and her lawyer were friends. And they laughed about the fact that if she pressed to have them admitted to court, she would be guilty of possessing child pornography. My aunt was a divorce attorney for decades before becoming a judge. The biggest whammo was a guy who was stealing his wife's undergarments and wearing them. She thought he was just having an affair. No one's gonna do it. Really, internet? No one? Well, looks like it's my turn to play devil's advocate and potentially end up looking like a creep. Is it really that big of a deal? I mean, the guy was getting a sort of thrill out of it. Is it the normal thrill? No. But he wasn't cheating. It all doesn't seem any worse than masturbating. Just more odd. The only possible thing wrong with it is that he took his wife's undergarments without permission. Not a lawyer, but my parents. Divorced when I was born. Over the next 5 years, dad proceeds to take mom to court to pay less and less in child support. He had us for about 30 HRSWK. School days were almost entirely on her. When I was about 12, he starts bringing her back to court. According to her, he was paying about $100 more for the 4 of us. Finally, she got sick of it. Had her lawyer look into his finances. His, now deceased, parents gave him $200. 000 for our college educations. He put it into stocks. And had $40. 000 left. Judge heard this. Case ended. Edit. He got that money in roughly 1985. Before we were born. And was forced to take out the remainder and put it in a savings account by the judge in 2010. Is there any reason that they'd tell the lawyers if they have kept it secret from the partner? Perhaps to get advice about what if they get to know that situations? There are 2 people in this world that you should never lie to. 1. The EMT when he asks what you took to. Don't know if this counts and I am not a lawyer. Buddy of mine got divorced. He has a contracting business and was doing quite well. During the divorce proceedings, they decided to sell the business and divide the proceeds. They sold it for over $2 million. She got 60% in lieu of alimony. Well, the selling of the business triggered a tax audit, and when all was said and done, they owed over $700. 000 in back taxes and penalties. So, now we have a $700. 000 debt, and back to court they go. She is claiming it was his business, so he should pay all the debt. He is claiming since she took 60% off the business, she should take 60% of the debt. Well, the judge agreed with him. She ended up with 60% of the debt, and unfortunately for her, she had pretty much spent all the proceeds from the divorce and now owes $420,000 to the government plus accumulating interest. He had used the money he got from the divorce to start a new business and paid his debt off right away. I will just jump in and let everyone know that not all divorces end in one of the parties getting screwed over. My ex and I married way too young, and when we realized it was all falling apart, for various reasons, we agreed that our daughter would be our priority. Neither of us ever used our daughter against the other. Neither of us badmouthed the other in front of her, and we were both very fair with holidays and time spent with her. Our daughter grew up into an awesome person that has a great relationship with both of us. Financially, my ex did not want to bleed me dry. And I wanted to make sure that she had enough child support to really help. In the short term it probably cost me more, but over the long term I probably ended up better off financially. So not all divorces end up with bitter f-ked up people. One of my firm's clients hid $1 million. Where? Asking for a friend. Divorce lawyer here. A man gambled away $70. 000 of their marital savings. Wife didn't know until she filed for divorce. She hit him in the head with a hammer and was arrested. This couple were going through proceedings. She gets full custody while the divorce plays out. He gets to see his kids once in a while. Bastard was disguising himself as the kid's nanny. Yano. Full old lady makeup. Wig and dress. Weird. My father-in-law said 20 grand to leave my daughter. I thought about it for a moment, then said yeah. Fair enough. Packed my bags. Paid him the money and left. Most lawyers are legally not allowed to say so. Get your hopes up for accurate response, if any at all. Not true at all. We just can't give enough details for the average person to figure out who specifically it is. Sort of like HIPAA. No personally identifiable information. I can talk about a case all day so long you can't identify the person we're discussing. So you're wrong in the sense we can't discuss cases. But right that we can't say who our clients are. Now, it gets tricky because I maintain that once we've filed a lawsuit, the fact we represent someone becomes public information available to all. But many states maintain that the lawyer still can't disclose who their clients are. But I'm not aware of anyone who's being prosecuted for something like that. As long as they don't give details about the client's identity, it's fine. I'm an actual lawyer. I just have no interest in clients. If someone is determined to keep something a secret from their former spouse, they will also keep it a secret from their lawyer. Not necessarily. I know things about some clients that their spouse don't know. That's the stupidest move they could possibly make. If the lawyer doesn't know, and they get blindsided via ops papers, oral argument, etc., not only is their defense completely disabled, they're probably going to be furious. You don't lie to your lawyer. You don't lie to your DR first responders. At least if you're smart. I'm in the middle of a documentary series about a high school teacher that began cooking meth without telling his wife about it or about the money he made. I'm not done with it yet, but it's a very compelling story. 10/10 great documentary. Till. If you win the lotto, don't hide it from your partner and get a divorce. Really late to the party, but my friend's dad was a divorce lawyer. He told us a story about a couple who fought over Beanie Babies and hid the rare ones from each other.